The interesting thing was, probably about 7 years before I got into recovery, my dad got sober and got into recovery.
Wow.
So we started seeing some changes in him. And he was one of the first people that I wanted to talk to when I really hit my bottom. And that included like a suicide attempt.
Okay.
And when I talked to him, he was basically like, I can't tell you one way or the other. You need to figure this out. I can give you information that's going to help you to figure out what you need to do and what's going on. So he was very instrumental, I think, in the beginning. But like you were saying, being the first one, I mean, he was, but there was so much distance, miles, it wasn't like he was here and we could, go to meetings together or do any of that together. So when I started my journey, it was very lonely, extremely lonely, because everybody that I knew they were into the party scene. And I actually had somebody, one of my coworkers, told me, and I'll never forget it, I liked you better when you drank. Like, what? Yeah, because that was just, yeah, yep, couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe I heard those words. So it was pretty lonely in the beginning. So coworkers, they think you're weird because you're so different. I worked in an insurance sales office, group sales, and so drinking was just a part of everything. I mean, you'd go to lunch and you'd have drinks, and everybody would go out after. Um, so I stopped all of that. And I was like, nope, I don't have the desire anymore. I don't want that life anymore. Yeah. And they tried to lure me back into that too. There were a couple of people in particular but I was like, no, I don't want any part of that anymore. I think that I was probably for at least 6 months to a year, I knew that things needed to change. So I was trying to control my drinking. And I think a lot of people do that. They think, well, I'll just cut back because you're not ready to really give it up. You, in fact, you can't even imagine what life would be like without it because the majority of people started so young. It's kind of like what you're saying when you were talking about just being able to, be in nature and be mindful of what's going on around you. If you've never known that, you don't even know you're missing it. So I didn't even know I was missing it until actually after I'd enjoyed sobriety for probably a good year. Um, but yes, I was beginning to see things were unraveling in my life. Relationships were unraveling. I was on the verge of divorce. I mean, there were things that I did that I didn't think I would ever do. And, driving in a blackout, not even remembering how I got home and just horrible stuff. And I'm just like, this is, I got to get a grip. And so, yeah, I was trying to control and I was trying to make changes, but I needed a radical change. And obviously that's what ended up happening. But my bottom really got to the point where, people didn't want to be around me because I was such a disappointment. And I had hurt them so deeply, especially my family. Um, so I was like, you know what? You get to the point where you start losing hope, and then you have everyone against you. So it feels like everyone's against you. So I was like, why am I even here? And that's what led to my suicide attempt because I really got to a point where I thought, you know what? They would be better off, and this world would be better off if I wasn't even here. So, alcohol, as many pills as I could take, and just writing letters to everybody, just saying goodbye. And, but I really think that that was my spiritual awakening right there because I got to a point in all of that where I came to this realization, and I know it was God, but the realization was you don't want to die. You just don't want to hurt anymore. And I felt that somehow the breath of hope was breathed into me in that moment. And so I thought, okay, well, when I make myself throw up, I never went to the hospital and I didn't have any damage, but there should have been because for 3 days after that, I was so sick. And, when I made myself throw up, it was almost like I was just, throwing up probably every 5, 10 minutes. It was just horrendous. But I survived that without ever going to the hospital. And I didn't even tell anybody about this until months and months and months later, once I was into recovery. So after I got myself back together, probably a week or two after that is when I went and visited my dad. And then the other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to connect with God because I really believed that he was the one who spoke to me. So I had been being invited to church from someone, and I was like, okay, I need to talk to my dad. I need to get to church. And those are the two things that I did. And that just, wow, my world was finally turned right side up, and recovery started, the healing process started, reconnecting with God and getting closer to Him and realizing that, He was my only hope. It made all the difference in the world. So that's what started my journey. So did I know that things needed to change for a while? Yes. But did I know how to do it and what to do? No. My ways were not working.